Hello, my name is Akram White, and this is my market models microeconomics paper where I research a certain business and figure out what market model it is. So out of the four market models, which are pure competition, pure monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. The company that I chose was Nintendo. So Nintendo is a video game business that's been around since the 1800s, late 1800s, 1889. Remember I said late 1800s. Not even making video games, we were making cards. But in the 1970s, in the mid 1970s, that's when they kind of started. That's when they started making video games. Kind of starting off as like arcades, and like little kind of like television games. Not all the way video games, but video games. And ever since then, Nintendo has been known for being a family friendly, and very successful video game company, with a lot of video games under the belt and a lot of video game consoles under the belt. The market model that I think that Nintendo is an oligopoly. The reason why, first of all, what is an oligopoly? An oligopoly is a type of market model which has very few firms in the business. There's very few firms in the business. Either has standardized or differentiated products, has little control over price. Has non-price competition, and has a very difficult entry into the market. So let me explain every single one of these market models and how every single one of these characteristics and how Nintendo fits into an oligopoly. First is the number of firms. First, Nintendo makes video games. If I were to say on a video game front, it is more monopolistic competition, but if we're going to count the consoles as well, it's a lot more oligopoly focused. The reason why is because there are only three business firms that sell consoles, besides international console firms in other places. But the three big ones that everybody knows about, and that's the reason why it's very difficult to get in this in the first place, are Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Those are the only three that make the big consoles every 5 to 10 years. And that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult to get into the industry, because think about it. Sony is already is with already produces other products like DVD players and stuff like that. And Microsoft, they make computers first. In fact, I have a Microsoft computer, and so they have money from that, and they were able to make Xbox. Nintendo, on the other hand, has just been around for a very long time, and they've just accumulated money ever since 1889, when they started out selling Pokemon playing cards, that's the reason why the entry and exit is so difficult in this industry. The product can be standardized and differentiated. It's mostly differentiated though. Especially if we're talking console wise, it's very, very differentiated. Since every new generation of consoles, it has to be different. And each one of these different consoles, or each one of these companies, have something that sets themselves apart. Nintendo's is that usually it's a lot more family friendly. It's a lot more accessible to a wider range of people. And you can see that with the Wii, Nintendo Switch, the Wii U, the GameCube. They also usually all have gimmicks, like Wii U motion controls, the GameCube. It's like you can all around like a little box. and Nintendo Switch, the two detachable controllers. And that's what differentiates them from PlayStation and Xbox, which is more of kind of just like, a game system. This is a game system. Nintendo has like a whole gimmick and concept around their consoles, which differentiates them from the competition. The price as well is they have very little control over the price, and often like in an oligopoly, they have to use certain strategies to match the price to keep up with their competitors. One very good example is when Nintendo Switch dropped. It was around $400, maybe $500, and that was around where the PlayStation 4 was. Not maybe the PlayStation 5, but mainly the PlayStation 4, and they have to match with that. There's also a ton of collusion that happens within Nintendo. There are multiple companies that have been a part or have left Nintendo. One is the Pokemon Company, which although it's owned by Nintendo, but it's its own separate entity. Same thing for HAL Laboratories, which creates the Kirby games and all those. It's its own separate entity that Nintendo does, and it distributes their games and stuff like that. Another good example is Square Enix. No, Platinum Games is Platinum Games. My apologies. It's Platinum Games with the game Bayonetta. Since they were having trouble developing that game, Nintendo was like, "Hey, if you let us show, if you let us put the game on the Wii U, then we'll help you." And they did, and they helped with the production, and they controlled the price and everything. There's also a ton of non-price competition in the video game industry that I've seen plenty of Nintendo ads everywhere. YouTube, Twitter, Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, everywhere, especially on kid-friendly places. Nintendo is there, and is the reason why they make so much money, because their non-price competition is so good, and their ads are so good and friendly, and like, oh, look at this kid-friendly game that you get choosing and play. And for the price, they have very little control of the price. And yeah, that's Nintendo. Some other aspects of Nintendo that's an oligopoly is its mutual interdependence with other companies. In the game Super Smash Brothers, there's this character named Minecraft Steve, that was introduced, that was in partnership with Microsoft. Even though they are competitors, they use that partnership to promote both Minecraft and Nintendo. And I feel like that's a really good example of some mutual interdependence. But in conclusion, Nintendo is an oligopoly, at least console wise, and even video game wise too, but mostly console wise. And yes, thank you.